What if the thing you keep running from is the only thing that can actually set you free? Not your failures, not your mistakes, not your pain, but the silence underneath all of it. Most people never sit with themselves. Truly sit, without a screen, without music, without something to fix or plan or scroll through. And here is the strange part. That discomfort you feel the moment you stop, that restlessness, that creeping anxiety, that is not boredom. That is the first honest signal your mind has sent you in years. We live in a civilization that has perfected the art of distraction. Every ping, every notification, every endless feed has been engineered to keep you from one specific experience: being alone with yourself. But why? Why does sitting in silence feel like a threat? Ancient yogic science has a precise answer. The mind, left without external stimulation, begins to show you what you have been storing inside. Every unprocessed emotion, every grief you skipped over, every version of yourself you abandoned. The silence does not create the discomfort. It reveals the discomfort that was always there. Modern neuroscience calls this the default mode network. When external input stops, the brain activates a specific constellation of regions responsible for self-referential thought, memory consolidation, and identity construction. Most people find this deeply uncomfortable because the default mode network, when left untrained, does not show you peace. It shows you the backlog, the things you have been too busy to feel. There is a story, ancient and nameless, of a seeker who traveled to a teacher and asked, "How do I find stillness?" The teacher said nothing. He pointed to a lake disturbed by wind. The seeker watched the surface, restless, choppy, opaque. Then the wind stopped. Slowly, the surface cleared, and the seeker saw to the very bottom. The teacher said, "The wind did not create the mud. It only stirred what was already there. Stop adding wind." That is precisely what happens in the nervous system when you commit to stillness. The brain moves from high-frequency beta waves, the state of anxiety, problem-solving, and reaction, into alpha and then theta states. In theta, something remarkable occurs. The boundary between conscious and unconscious processing dissolves. Repressed emotional material surfaces, not to punish you, but because the system is finally safe enough to process it. This is what ancient masters called the inner purification, not a spiritual metaphor, a literal neurological event. The accumulated emotional residue of unexpressed experience begins to move through the body when the noise stops long enough to let it. An ancient teaching says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. That cave is solitude. The treasure is yourself, not the self you perform for others, not the self shaped by other people's expectations. The self that existed before you were told who to be. Research in epigenetics confirms something startling. Chronic states of stress and emotional suppression alter gene expression. The body literally changes its biology to manage unprocessed experience. But contemplative practices that cultivate stillness have been shown to reverse these markers. The body does not just feel better, it rebuilds differently. So what do you actually do? Not meditation as a performance, not sitting perfectly still, waiting for enlightenment. Just this. Give yourself 10 minutes of genuine aloneness, no phone on the table, no music in the background. Sit, breathe slowly, and when the discomfort rises, do not reach for anything. Simply watch it. Name it without judgment. Anger, sadness, fear, loneliness. When you name an emotion, the prefrontal cortex regains influence over the amygdala. The fire does not vanish, but you stop being burned by it. The ancient teachers knew this. They built entire systems around it. They were not escaping the world by going into silence. They were going into silence to stop escaping themselves. Here is what changes when you stop running. The people around you stop being targets for the emotions you could not face alone. Relationships that once felt suffocating begin to breathe. You stop demanding that another person be the silence you refuse to find inside. You stop confusing need with love. Because every relationship you have is a mirror. and the clarity of that mirror depends entirely on whether you have ever been willing to look. The most radical act in a world built on distraction is to sit down, say nothing, and allow yourself to be fully where you are. Not because it feels good at first, it will not, but because on the other side of that discomfort is the one thing no external achievement, no relationship, no amount of applause can give you. The discovery that you are already whole, that the noise was never the world, it was always you, running from you. Stop running, see what is there.